going to be a thing that I feel is significant. Technology has gotten to the point where we can code without needing to learn Java and even open up Windows. You can literally talk aloud code, not even paste copying. We used to make fun of people who would go to Stack Overflow and paste copy code. This is the minimum viable engineer. This is where we are at right now, where it got so easy to execute and ship product that we don't have minimally viable engineering skills. Being a minimal viable engineer entails these bullet points. One, can you connect a QR code to a landing page? Because printing out a QR code so that way people can scan is not even technical. It's grandma levels of execution. Can you code up a NFC card? Forget about NFC or QR code. Can you look up a YouTube video where you stepwise execute a recipe? Forget about QR code and NFC card. Can you watch a YouTube video on cooking and replicate that recipe? YC pun intended. Can you add a calendar invitation? Now, before you're like, oh, these things are so basic, it's about to get crazy because can you execute a clean to-do list that you refer back to versus, oh, I'll kind of just keep it in my head? The minimum viable engineer goes to this in a hurry, which makes you surpass Elon Musk and Sam Altman, which is, can you hashtag your connection towards a conversation where you expand on a prior? That specific sentence is incredibly specific because can you dig deep, unearth research? I'm not talking about using deep seek or deep research at Grok 3. I'm talking, can you burrow into something that you worked on 5 minutes ago, 5 hours ago, 5 days ago, 5 lifetimes ago? Because it turns out most people cannot, including Sam Altman and Elon Musk. And do you see how these baby steps for being a minimally viable engineer now helps you get to a macro ginormous step? Instagram coding, my God. So it turns out the dumber retard version of IG, which is TikTok, can actually be scraped and coded for sentiment analysis. Are you doing every brand sentiment analysis? No. We are just coding on APIs, TikTok, IG, or Luma, Eventbrite. What you're now doing is you're interacting as your first API call. Are you automating API calls because you're doing 50,000 API calls per day, per week, per life? No, you're just executing as a minimal viable engineer who maybe you went to engineering school but don't do engineering and then you've lost your way. Maybe you never went to engineering school and you're like, oh, I'll just delegate it to a engineer. That's just like an engineer saying, I'm going to just delegate that to my lawyer and not understand a single line of law. Are you in danger when you do that? Yes. Why? Because you're not a minimally viable business person. when you fully delegate thinking. And I'm not talking about pattern recognition thinking where you're overthinking. I'm talking about the delegation of all work, the the getting away from, this is it simply. All we want to do is do pattern repetition and then pattern iteration as a minimally viable engineer. That is as simple as I can make it. No jokes required, because that is incredibly succinct, which is we want to do pattern repetition, pattern iteration as a minimally viable engineer. When we, at the core level, scrape a transcript, now we are using technology tools to not program Bitcoin, not program fiat, not program an app, which Replit does almost faster than how we search for a app. We now are required to scrape the transcript. Have you ever manually scraped a YouTube script? They used to slam people who scrape as script kiddies, where it's a kindergartner who's an engineer, not really able to be a professional engineer. Now, that's the high bar. What's the lowest bar is we all are living in a world where software ate the world. That's kind of bad news. For people who want to deny that that's true. If you don't deny that that's true, rejoice, because the money is about to be a tumbling. When we have just a waft, a dash of engineering skill, what happens? The entire world is open to us. We don't say, I need to have a CTO. We don't say, I'm going to hope that a VC gives me money so that way somebody will write this code. When we skip the step of one of these multiple steps, you're in a world of hurt, because you don't want to automatically leave a 4 or 5 person conversation once something technical comes up, and now you're intimidated, and then you're like, oh, the patriarchy, that's what's keeping me from understanding engineering. No, it's the fact that you don't own a notebook and you've never taken notes in a meeting with pen and paper. Being able to minimally viable engineer this task, which is, can you email, publish, post? Because that is nearly not even machine learning. All you're doing is email, publish, posting a web page. I ask people this question, and the results are jaw-droppingly horrific, which is, how many web pages did you publish last year? People that are shy to write, shy to appear on camera, which I understand, shy to ship, that's not minimally viable engineer. That's borderline, I don't want to participate in an economy that is the 1099 economy. Oh my God, that is so succinct. You're welcome. What is the 1099 economy? It's every person for themselves. It's everybody has to be CMO, CTO, and CEO of you incorporated. You're welcome to remix that, which is my last point, which is how are you able to handle social media and the algorithms new changes? Because if you can't remix and recut and edit somebody else's blog post, website, video, you are doing work in a silo. When you work solo in a silo, you're going to not be very connected as you feel like you're in solitude, as you don't connect to other people's money streams. This is the minimally viable engineer for realizing one, Larry Chiang in his cowboy hat does have a lot of good hashtags. Eskimos, they have 17 words for snow. I have 650 hashtags for money. Why? Because I love money more than Eskimos love snow. 5. Seeing that the world has been eaten by fraudulent money, but software ate the world, and that truth is not evenly distributed. Because right now, Bitcoin's in the 70,000s. True price is 500K. Are you willing to be a minimally viable engineer to host a Bitcoin 500K party when the price is at 70K? 500K owned, 500,000 Bitcoin owned, not $500,000 in price. What happens when you're an engineer is you basically, even if you're a minimally viable engineer, you are now a magician. Why? Because other people who can't access OPM, other people's money, with OPE, other people's experiences, can't arbitrage an API call. And when business people are getting killed because they hear API call and they just melt because they can't understand why software ate the world. This is why when we arbitrage an API call, initially we're doing things that don't scale. Am I demoralizing you with my knowledge of Y Combinator and calling out specific essays as they pertain to how engineers can transition into being their own money douchebag? Yes. And once you see the fact that it's easier for an engineer to learn street smart business than it is for a street smart business person who's kind of rich to learn engineering, now you understand the whole concept of nerds taking over the world. Now you understand the concept of minimally viable engineer who has no sales experience. This is also the demoralizing thing, which is empowering if you're thinking about being a minimally viable engineer, is now you can be CS major, CRO. CS like computer science, major like, oh, I graduated your 4-year college in a year and a half. CS major, CRO, Chief Revenue Officer. I can say that because Indian people took my land and later lost it to white people. No crying in baseball, no crying in entrepreneurship, and there's definitely no crying as we transition into being the minimally viable engineer. Happy Friday. Tomorrow is Psycho Saturday. If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss episodes that I drop on Thursdays. Psycho Saturday, there's a live stream. I would hit subscribe because I'm not going to let losers in that are trolling with the, oh, if it were so easy, why don't more people do it? This is why. This stuff is super easy to do, but like Jim Rohn, my mentor, said, it's easier not to do. See you in the next video.